Here's the topic. First topic of the day is technology in coaching. How can we use different forms of technology to assist our clients to improve the quality of their life? That's the topic. Now, yesterday we talked about the use of video. And that's just one way that an iPhone or other PDAs made by other companies can be used. But another way they can be used is to monitor. And one of my clients was working on her stress. And I believe that stress, like anything, when monitored, improves. I believe that anything you monitor your happiness, it improves. You monitor your weight, it improves. You monitor your health, it improves. You monitor your mood, it improves. You monitor your distress level, it'll improve. So what he did was he had a particular application that rang his phone twice a day at random times. He pulled it out and he entered a number between -10 and +10 that showed his mood. No, showed his stress, because he was monitoring stress. And it charted it. So it was just an automatic way to keep track of a chart. So there's lots of uses for technology. But I want to present a couple of others. One is right here. A picture frame. Now, you've all seen these. And what you could do, though, is load this picture frame with not only the pictures that your client wanted, but you could load the picture frame with little reminders of what your client was working on. So in here, if you've watched this for a while, periodically what happens on the screen, it says things like deep intimacy and vibrant health. It can not only have a picture, but it can have a goal that the client's working on. Now, this one you load from your computer like you do most of them, but these kind of digital picture frames are also available, and I just ordered one and have it in my office, that it can be loaded remotely. So what you could do is you could give it to your client, he could have it in his office, and after every session you could pick a couple of goals that you want him or her to be reminded of and electronically send it to the picture frame from any location in the world. I bought one because I want to have it for my mother-in-law, because she's not computer proficient, she doesn't have a computer, and I want to send her pictures. And so what I'll do is I'll just have this at her home, and then anytime I take pictures, I'll download them, and every few days she'll walk by and there'll be different pictures on the screen. Now, what I've been doing up till now is I've been sending her son the pictures and say, show these to your mom. But he's just not that reliable. So you could do that for your client. I think the digital picture frame with remote loading was $190. It's got its own IP address, for those of you who are technical. It's like it's got its own email. And you send the pictures to that email account, and they just automatically load up. And now, for your client, of course, you probably wouldn't send pictures. What you would send were photographs of his goals or her goals. Let me present a few more ideas. This is a machine called a Zeo, and I love this thing. I've been wearing this at night lately. Really turns my wife on. So what this does is it broadcasts your sleep pattern into your alarm clock. And it measures how much you're in deep sleep, how much you're in REM sleep, how much you're in light sleep, how much you're awake during your sleep cycle. And then it converts those into percentages. It also shows how many times you woke up during the night. So what it does is then charts it. And this is be a little well, I mean, I know you can't see this, but I'll just say the last time I slept, I got a Z-score of 84. Now, that happens to be my personal best. And when I look it up, that's the average Z-score for a teenager. And Z-scores go down as you get older. The average Z-score for somebody like me is in the 30s, but I'm a really good sleeper, and this was a really good night. And but I can know that on that particular night, for example, that I had 7 hours and 58 minutes, and I woke 6 times, though, and 7% was waked time, 38% in REM, 47% in light sleep, and 8% in deep sleep. And then it even gives a little chart and charts the actual sleep. Technology. But there's more. Some of you have seen this one, but this is one of my personal favorites. You take a little alcohol, and you clean off your cheek. And then you take one of these pads, and you snap it on here. I did this many, many nights. And then I also did it at work sometime. And you peel this off, and you put this right on this muscle here, or any muscle on your body that you have a tendency to tighten in a way that you don't want it, then it's not healthy. And then you plug this thing into here, and then you turn this on, and then you see that there's a little, I know you can't quite see, but there's this little light bar, and that light bar goes down and goes up to red as my jaw tightens. See our screen? There's red. Green, red. Now, because what I want is to be loose, at least in my jaw. Now, the other thing this has is this really cool buzzer. Here. All right. So it's just what a EKG? Yeah, it's biofeedback, but EMG, electromusculogram. And so then I just put this in my shirt pocket, or it's actually got a little earplug. Put the earplug in there, and I'm going around, and all of a sudden, reminds me to loosen my jaw. Now, I don't do that too much during the day, but it used to be at night I would clench my jaw a lot. So I went to bed like this. And then with this on my head. I don't wear this anymore because it got handled. It got handled. And matter of fact, for the last 3 months, this machine has been in Texas at one of my clients because he had a problem in his back. And he solved it, by the way, with this same thing. But I put the earplug in my ear and went to bed. Fall asleep, all of a sudden, start clenching, wakes me up. Fall asleep, start clenching, wakes me up. After a few nights, I'm not clenching anymore. I'm so sleepy. There's more. An M-Wave. By the way, I have no interest in any of these companies. I don't get a kickback. I'm not referring them. It's just that they're great machines. Now, I do know the people that make this one. And they are amazing scientists. And what they have determined is that if your heartbeat is more regular, if the distance between your heartbeats are more regular, you're in a much more relaxed state, and almost a meditative state. So what they've come up with is this little machine that also has sound and light to help you determine and practice that confluence of heartbeat, that regularity. So you put your finger here and it measures your heartbeat, or you can put this on your ear and it measures your heartbeat, and then you just practice having it regular. And it's another way to increase your creativity, decrease your stress. So now I'm thinking, what if you had this on that ear and this on that cheek and this on your head? Yes. All right. So I'm really not recommending any one of those products in particular, but I'm recommending that you look to see how you could use technology to improve your client's life. And of course, if you're going to recommend it to your client, you want to try it first. So I try the picture frame, I try the EMG, try this M-Wave, the sleep monitor, and now I'd like to hear from you. So what do you think of those ideas? What ideas do you have to add to them?
I had a client who was a pastor who was having particular difficulty. He's rather taskmaster oriented and wanted to work on a particular spiritual theme. So he set his iPhone alarm 3 different times a day to make him mindful of a particular spiritual practice. And because it was, you know, a little bit disruptive, being a pastor in meetings and stuff, he set the harp. He set it to a harp. So when it would go off, he would also have a conversation starter for, you know, why is the harp going off? So.
Reminds me, Mitch, of I was in I belong to a men's group, and sometimes some of the men take too much of the space. So what we did is we started passing the iPhone with a 3-minute timer and the harp setting. So when you got the iPhone, you knew you had 3 minutes to share, and then when the harp went off, you passed to the next guy, and it went around and around the room. It wasn't like you only got 3 minutes, but that was a way to share the conversation space. I also want to remind you of the wake-up call. So it's a free service. It's one of the resources at daveellisleadership.com, and you can have it automatically call your phone, or now it's also, it'll text your phone if you don't want the call. It'll send you a text. So it'll call you or text you or email you at any time, at any day, whatever message you want. So that's another piece of technology. Tamara.
Good morning, Dave. I have a question about Maestro. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but I would love to learn how to use that technology so that if we're doing group coaching, or like with Karen and I with Continuing Ed, the possibility of putting people into small groups to do some work together and then coming back to the whole group. Are you going to explain that to us during the workshop, or are we going to experience it on the post-call?
It's a conference call system. I explained this briefly on the pre-call. As long as we're talking technology, this is a great use for it. It's a conference call system where you can gather up to 1,000 people, and then you can break them into groups of 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever size. And then when you break them into groups, then they only have that many people talking to each other. So it's like a workshop setting when you say, okay, to break into pairs, and people are in pairs. You can also break them into pairs based on criteria. So for example, in this group, I could say, if you're from ECISD, the Texas group, press 1. If you're not, press 2. And then I could break all the ECISD people up into groups, and I could break the other people up into groups. Or I could say, if you're a man, press 1. If you're a woman, press 2, and we put all the men in one group and all the women in another. Or whatever the criteria is. So that's another great piece of technology. Technology, you know, you can try it, maybe not.